Thanks guys, thank you for inviting me here today. Scaling Scrum, it's the people, not the place. So a bit about me. It's my family. It's my family. I couldn't get a family photo of all five of us. I don't know if any of you've got children, but it's very hard to get
interesting picture,
a full family photo. There's always one with a finger in their ear, or fighting, the boys punching. So apologies about that. And then this is my other big passion, which is martial arts. I do a lot of taekwondo and kickboxing. Hence the title of my blog, scrummaster.ninja. Scrum Master by day, martial artist by night. My Twitter, which I've got a challenge for you later, so you might need to write that down. Please follow me. And my wider company, so I'm an independent consultant. I tend to work between UK clients and Indian clients, and trying to bridge that gap around communication and culture. And that's what I aim to get through today. So why this subject? It's an important subject to me. It's one that really annoys me, because I was having a conversation 5 minutes ago about someone who said, well, these distributed teams, they don't work, right? You can't do Scrum distributed. I've worked with kind of 15 different countries. I've spent a lot of time in India, around Hyderabad in the microinsurance sector, and I've seen some really high-performing, cool teams. So it can work, and hopefully I can convince you in the next kind of 40 minutes. So what we're going to cover. So I just make an announcement now. I hate bullet points. I blame Microsoft for a lot of things in this world, and bullet points is probably top of the list. So it's all pictures, and I think I haven't counted it, but probably less than 20 words in the presentation. So what I'm going to run through. So the core. So I believe that individuals and interactions are much more important in any agile team than processes and tools, but specifically in distributed teams, it really is the core. Then we're going to just have a quick overview of well, if individuals are so important in those interactions, well, what skills do these people need? And then that's the child in a sweet shop, which is an analogy in the UK of why limit yourself to a small amount of people when you've got the world to choose from to get these high-performing individuals and teams. But of course, it's not all easy, so we'll go through some of the challenges. And the most important one for me, and the one that I work with the majority of the time, is different cultures around the world, and how you get people in England to understand the Indian culture, and how you get Indian people to understand the UK culture, and how we can try and bridge that gap. And we'll try and do a bit of a hands-on exercise, a bit of a retrospective on something that we can take away and challenge ourselves to work differently with our brothers. And then it's not all doom and gloom. There's also some benefits there as well, and some things you just wouldn't experience with people from one country working. So again, this is the core. If you take anything away from today, I'd just take this slide. People kind of have moved away from looking at the basics of what the Agile Manifesto said, right? And this is one of the core ones for me. So I try and take any kind of process out of the equation. So whether it's Scrum, we've talked about Scrum Ban this morning. To me, that's not the important thing here, and that's why I don't believe Scrum has ever successfully scaled. I don't believe any company has ever transitioned a waterfall company to a real high-performing scaled Scrum environment, because companies spend a lot of money on the processes, the CSMs, the CSPs, when actually you need to go a step down and just concentrate and invest in the people and getting the right training in that area. So this is another English analogy that I use quite a lot. It's herding cats. So the analogy here is that if you haven't got the right people, then the process is very difficult, and it's very hard to.
I'm sorry.
The process is very difficult, and it's hard as a Scrum Master to get anything done with a team. But if you get the right people and you've you've spent the time on the people skills, on the communication, on the team aspect, then it actually becomes quite an easy and enjoyable job. So what makes a good team member? If it's important, and that's the crucial thing here, what makes a good team member? I just want you to spend maybe 2 minutes in groups of 5, 6, just discussing what you think some of these key values are that a team player should have.
Yep. Are we missing one team here? That's you.
It's fine. I'm sure you can cope without me.
What makes a good team member?
So this is just focusing on the team member, not the team.
Be responsible for not just his task,
For the team.
being responsible.
Ownership. Yeah, so it should be communicated. It should be expressed, but exactly like it's a bit different. You cannot express. It doesn't make sense.
He should be ready to get his hands on further.
So he's taking responsibility.
Say for example, you might be working on it, okay, but you have moved forward. Ultimately, someone else, that's good team member, say I need to jump with you, ready, without you.
Just another minute, guys. We've got quite a bit to get through.
Yeah, ready to help.
So I keep moving to Okay, maybe just the top answer from the different areas. So what we got?
So one thing we thought about is the ownership. He should be able to take things on him and deliver. Right. So it's kind of an I want to do it and I will do it being a team member. So this is my task and I'll definitely do it.
Okay. So trust.
Trust and ownership.
Trust. Yeah. Ownership.
Respect and trust.
Respect and trust. Yeah.
I have a formula for that. Like his identity is less than equal to the team's identity.
You say that again?
His identity less than equal to the team's identity.
His identity. Okay.
That's a good one.
That's a developer. You'll see something in a minute. So top marks. Any others?
Sharing. He shares his learning with the rest of the team.
Transfer.
Says he's learning. Yeah. So he's very open.
Adapting to change.
Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Honesty.
Honesty. Yeah. Transparency. Some good ones there. There's a few that I came up with. Mine are no better than anyone else's, but you know, some of the same words there: honesty, hard-working, kind, avoids politics. My favourite one is funny. I always get told off by my management. Not so much told off, but concerns as to why there's always so much laughter in my meetings. In fact, we've got one of the guys, and he laughs every day. Even when I'm not telling a joke, he'll still laugh at me. So I'm not sure if it's my face or what. But I think that's important. It's an important part of being a team and enjoying work. If you don't enjoy work, then you're not going to perform. And so sometimes the most ordinary things could be made extraordinary simply by doing them with the right people. I just love that phrase and simplicity and enjoyment you get from working with great individuals. So again, this comes back to your formula. Good teams become great ones when the members trust each other enough to surrender the me for the we. Same sort of thing. That sacrifice of the individual for the team's good. To the extent, unlike Scrum Ban, in Scrum, if someone you mate's struggling, you might sacrifice whatever you're working on and getting that delivered for the good of the team, because that story's higher priority or going to deliver more points. And so, some team skills, transparency, communication, feedback. I've talked a lot about the interpersonal skills, but skilled is also important. You need skilled individuals, and you need individuals that are T-shaped so that they have a speciality, but also able to help the team in other areas as well, to really be able to be high performing. So, why use distributed teams? because all the things we've just discussed, it doesn't matter. You could all be together, you could be distributed. So it's my little analogy I'm consulting at the minute between Royal London and Brilio on a 25 million financial wrap platform project. And so to try and run that from Bath, that has a population of 100,000 people, with an IT population of 1,000 maybe, it's impossible. Whereas Bangalore, Wikipedia said there's 9.5 million people in Bangalore, so you can see that you don't need to be a mathematician to work out why we moved to distributed teams. But of course it's not all rosy. There's some challenges with distributed teams, and there's some things that if you Google distributed teams, people are really kind of passionate about and why they don't believe it's worked. So communication is the number one. If you Google distributed teams, it'll say communication. You can't communicate effectively through a distributed team. And this is a nice little picture of what can happen if you haven't got those communications linked right, and that's why people feel so passionate about the subject. But I think, as long as you know it's a challenge, I've seen teams that aren't distributed that sit next to each other discussing a problem on Communicator because they don't appreciate that there's a problem there, right? Because they're sat together, but they're not communicating at the right level. Whereas with a distributed team, you know it's a problem, so you can work at it. So my challenge for you over the next week, I'm calling it the escalation communication game. So within your team, you'll have levels of communication you can do. And kind of at the bottom, you've got the asynchronous type of communications, like email and a team wiki, for example. You've then got your Office Communicator, or your link, or however you which is synchronous, but very hard to kind of get a cohesive message. It takes a longer time. You've then got your VCs with people in other offices. You've got telephone as well in the middle of there, your conference calls. Then you've got your video, your Skype, which is kind of quite minimal, or you've got the more kind of rigid VCs, which are much more scalable. And then you've got the face-to-face contact, right? And so what I'd like you to do over the next week is try and jump a level. So if you're at your desk and you're just about to send an email to someone about a problem, then don't. Go to Communicator and communicate it. Again, if you're going to talk to them on Communicator, then pick up your phone and ring them and discuss it, right? And again, telephone, no. Go to VC or face-to-face, even an ideal. And I'm just asking you to jump one level. Obviously, you can jump multiple levels if you like.
If I can interrupt now.
Yeah.
I think it is Dell which did it. There was no communication between their teams, so they blocked VoIP, email, communicator, everything of that particular office. The only option that it was left is you need to walk. They did for 1 week or something, and the level of interaction that happened in that week was, they never saw that in their history. I think it's Dell or some other company, but that's the code.
I've not seen to that level, but I've had a team that highlighted. It's the team, that highlighted the problem where I saw two people communicating next to each other. The team added it into their working agreements that no more communication. And then once the problem had gone, we introduced it back in. But it was just to get over that kind of initial flow. So now we've solved communication. For me personally, I was pleased to see a Dilbert earlier because I make a rule that every presentation I do has to have a Dilbert in it. So this is to represent experts. So your technical architects that may not be on site, your subject matter experts, or another SME, social media experts. And how you can get that kind of communication level. So I've tried a few things on this. So between Royal London and Brilio, they've got experts both sides now. So you've kind of got a paired formation of the architects and we're even going to try it with some Scrum Masters. So we're going to have a Scrum Master in a kind of paired formation so that you can get kind of impediments easier when you're there face to face. So we're going to try that and see how that works. And then from that, I think it's important that you've got that kind of contact there and there to solve the problem. So that's what we're trying to try and get over that. The other things you can do, the most easiest and obvious, is make sure your SMEs are coming to the sprint reviews. Sounds obvious, but it's amazing how many companies don't get the right people in the reviews. And if they're coming to the reviews, and that feedback loop's kind of the maximum you should be looking at. So, bring them in weekly, bring them into the daily stand-ups if you want. Even if they're just kind of listening in the background, at least they know that we're on the right track and we're not making any kind of faux pas with the architecture. So this is kind of building a team. And it is more difficult to build a team when you're distributed, because you haven't got that contact that every day, 8, 9, 10 hours a day speaking to each other. So, but we know it's a challenge, right? So we can do things about it. So I introduced to my teams, and some of you Scrum purists will faint right now, but we've extended the stand-up to 20 minutes. It's no longer 15, 20 minutes. But the first 5 minutes is just the how did you get on last night? What did you do? Okay. Which is the bit that you normally get when people arrive at work, but you haven't got that in a distributed team. So we've time boxed the 5 minutes at the start just to get through some of those conversations. We play some agile games. We play a lot of games around trying to flatten the structure of the team. It helps with the collaboration as well. Around improv and high and low statuses within the team. We discussed it earlier around still that pyramid of hierarchy. And the problem with that is it stifles communication, because the high status people are always getting their say, but the low status people aren't. And one of the things I've brought into the team now is that the newest or the most junior member of the team does the retrospective, the first sprint that they're involved in the team, because it's raising them from that fairly low status as a new member, a junior member, to a high status within the team straight away. Other things we do, we have socials together. So I'm over in India at the minute. This is us at a holly party yesterday. This is my one of the teams that I Scrum Master at the minute. It's probably my favourite team I've ever worked with. They're actually working on a very interesting way, as in it's almost it's not Scrum development. Another one of my passions is using Scrum outside of development. So this is, we get releases from a third party every 4 weeks, and this is kind of a system test which we're running a agile Scrum Ban way and feeding that through. And this team actually outperform any of the other teams I think on the project. Their throughput is so strong, and it's just come from 9 months we've been working together, from knowing each other and believing in each other and flattening the structure and trust over time. So there's no, one of the big problems I had in the early days was kind of honesty within the team. So they'd struggle to tell me if they were, as Scrum Master I need to know, otherwise I can't fix their problem. So one of the problems was honesty, and that can only be resolved through them trusting me, so opening up and me not using that as a weapon, but helping them, and they're like, wow, that impediment's gone now, well what's the next one? We also work a lot on, we've got rid of the word impediment from our stand-up, so no longer do we have, what did we do yesterday, what did we do today, what's our impediments? We now change that word to adaptions, which is one of the questions actually, wasn't it? What this empirical process, which is what Scrum is. It's not impediments, it's how you're going to adapt what you're doing to overcome that impediment. So this is on to the one that I think binds it all together when you're working with distributed teams. It's understanding each other's cultures, because what's acceptable in one country isn't in another, and vice versa, and that can become a real grind within a team if you're not careful. You know, things like interrupting in England, it's very bad manners to interrupt someone, but in India it's much more acceptable that if you've got a point, you'll get it across, and that's acceptable. You know, the other obvious one is the timekeeping, right? Especially in Scrum and Agile teams. In England, people get very annoyed if you're 2 minutes late for a meeting. So why not just overcome that by putting in your working agreements? We'll get to a meeting on time. So we'll go through here. We've got a few obvious ones. Language goes back to the communication again. I'm learning a bit of Kannada at the minute. Just kind of Dhanyavada, Namaskara, Senigadeni, just the local ones. My ambition by the end of the project, so I've got another 6 months or so, is to be able to do a full stand-up in Canada. Whether I'll get there or not. If you follow me on Twitter, I guess you'll find out as I share the journey, but yeah, that's my kind of ambition at the minute. So we've got religion, which is so diverse, and how do you even start with that one? Food, celebrations, well, we did a bit of that yesterday, so I make a point whenever there's a bank holiday in India to find out what it's about. You know, what's the public holiday for? Is it Holi? Is it Christmas Day? Is it Gandhi's birthday, for example, and why it's there? And I always try and ask and encourage the team to share what that holiday's for with the UK team. So now I thought this is the point where how are we doing for time? Okay, yeah, we're doing good actually. So a little retrospective now. So I've done this with a lot of UK teams, but I've never done it with an India team. So within your teams again, I just want so we'll have kind of how I normally might call retrospective. So one thing that's good. So one thing that adds to being working with an Indian team. One thing that's really you've either seen and know your UK or your American brothers, and then most importantly with any retrospective is, well, if this is making people sad, what we're going to do to improve on that situation. And anyone who knows me knows that I like a good beer, so that's the celebration of the beer when we resolve the problem. So just between the teams again, just the 5 or 6 of you, just come up with one for each box. You've got a bit longer for this one because I really think it's important to try and that you can start doing next week would be the key. So yeah, a couple of minutes on that, please. Can you get that on the video? Is that?
Yeah.
I can go for the back.
Oh, and you can't use the ones I've already used. So you can't use the timekeeping. You can't use the interruptive.
We being the outsourced team, generally is the case, we have to always succumb to their time. It's not the other way around. So either we have to come from early morning team or late night team.
Exactly for us.
Yeah.
Probably not
Simple, but very effective.
Very common extend to
I'm a very classic change that is spread across Asia, Bangalore,
Yeah. I'm not saying it wouldn't. I'm just not. I've not seen a team go that extreme. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have a look actually. It'd be good for my slides.
Just 1 week, communication is just
Yeah.
the only thing what they felt is they are not able to connect with customers. That's
Yeah. It worked really well with the just planning of communicating. That was enough for that team just to get the idea. And also the game. You do that with the team for a couple of weeks. And
For me, for the communication side, what we did is we had an internal communication and that is for the model meetings. Everyone was he will be also messages.
you tried having an act at locally as well, so you've got that synchronous. That works really well. So it adds an extra.
We were hiring
Yeah. That's fine.
1 year we were not
Yeah, it's hard.
You will have the product
We're
owners.
lucky we've got a few actually. Really have got a few.
The thing is like, the reason we kept it that way
So focus on your good thing and the bad thing and how you're going to improve it as the 5 people.
For a Scrum team that
And make kind of a part that that's what you're going to do from next week, assuming it's relevant. Because we're only really going to have maybe one that we can go through as a team. So it's really important that you do it together.
the teams in India get a lot of exposure.
I said opposite side. I think the team in US got.
Okay, maybe one more minute just to finish off.
Believe me, I should not say this, but I have felt that. People generally feel that when there's a global team, the Indian guys get a lot of exposure, but I think completely opposite. Because these are the guys who are very good in technology and processes. They're the people who are good in management because they do not understand anything technology. For them, it's a knowledge gathering. The other side of the challenge. I have a different opinion on that.
No, perfectly fine. Situations are different.
Yes.
now the next come, how do we overcome this?
time zone. Yeah, time zone. We are decided overlap.
Okay, guys. So you can finish it off in the time later, your lunch maybe, depending how dedicated you are. Has anyone got one that they haven't managed to solve? Has anyone got a bad point that they haven't managed to get a way to improve it?
If it is a distributed team,
No?
The one biggest problem with
Okay. Has anyone got one that they'd really like to
specific virtual team.
share with the team, with everyone? Pardon?
Listening skills.
Listening. So that's a good?
bad.
Bad. Okay. Yeah.
I must save my meeting.
Okay. And what was your good thing?
Dedication.
Dedication. Yeah. And how are you going to improve the listening?
Wait till the person completes his
Said you weren't allowed that one. It's cheating. Never mind. So you're going to let people finish. My granddad always said, it's a good one for this actually, that we've got 2 ears and only 1 mouth, so we should listen twice as much as we talk. And that's something I really struggle with, but it's always in the back of my mind because I'm a bit of a talker, but I always try and think of my granddad whenever I'm rabbiting on to listen more, right? So that's my analogy for that one. Maybe one more.
IST, Indians, we most of the times follow IST, which is Indian stretchable time.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. It's,
Okay. Bad.
yeah.
Okay.
What did you call it?
Indian stretchable time. Stretchable time.
Structurable.
Yeah.
Stretchable.
Yes.
Ah, I like it. I'm going to steal that one. So I'm going to have to... is that why I've been going wrong? Because I've been putting the IST time in the
Yeah.
meeting
If
request?
you want to meet anybody at 9 o'clock,
Yeah.
set the meeting at 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that you will be
Because I thought it standard for Indian Standard Time. Right. So I'm going to have to change my wording. That's another cultural lesson I've learned. And so how can you overcome the IST problem?
See, there are ways. One is a punishing way, another one is a non-punishing way.
Okay.
Explaining them how this is impacting others.
Yeah.
Okay. Punishing way is we used punishing way also, where if you come late, the number of minutes you are late that many rupees you need to put it for the team.
Yeah.
So the end of the sprint, we enjoy as a team.
Yeah.
Yeah, we get a very good fund.
We're running with the team I showed you earlier.
Yes.
I've got another picture. We're actually running a similar thing where our working agreements, if one of the people don't follow the working agreement, the person who spots it and tells the other person has to buy them a beer.
Yes.
So,
This is same like
so I'm at about 5 beers at the minute. Got a few more to collect. But yeah, it's great. So some of the things when I was researching it,
You're doing the money to get them.
we've got the positives of the direct and self-confident, good presenters. We've seen that today. Work smart, detail-orientated, very good at small detail, and always available. You know, which some people can take advantage of. But this is what UK people see as the positive behaviours in the Indian culture. You can say whether they're the correct thing for agile, but it's just words, right? The negatives, so this is what most English people think. They don't listen, which we've had, so that's good. Speak too fast and too long.
yeah.
Been in a few of those conversations. Self-centered survivors.
Yes.
Sorry, what was that?
Self-centered survivors, so not really team players.
Okay.
So they're more
It's the
interested
same thing
in
as
their
I
own.
told.
They're interested in completing their own task rather than
The team.
the team's task.
So we are suitable for Scrum Ban and not Scrum.
Well,
Is that what Ban?
Kind of. Yeah,
well, it's a behaviour, so you can train behaviours the same as you can train process.
Exactly.
And it goes back to my original point, which was, change the behaviour. Don't necessarily, try and fit it into any process. Better thinkers than doers, and very politically put, sometimes non-transparent, which I've already gone through before, and you get over that with a lot of trust. Okay, so the benefits. So flexibility. Distributed teams gives you a lot more flexibility in how you work and what times you can work, and also the size. So the project I'm working between Royal London and Brilio at the minute, we've had to kind of up the resource at certain points in the project and then obviously reduce them, and that's a lot easier to do with distributed teams than non-distributed teams. So this was a challenging one actually, where I put this. So this is time zones. So it of course affects communication, time zones, because you're on different levels. But I've actually seen it become quite a benefit in a lot of teams, because you've got more a separation of resource for your environments, for example. You can pretty much develop 24 hours a day. I've worked with people in Australia, which from the UK is 12, 11 hours different. So you can literally develop 24 hours a day. I've actually seen it with my Indian team, and this again isn't very Scrum, but those extra 5.5 hours on a Monday morning before your sprint ends has actually been the difference between getting those last few points over the finish line. So I've put it in the positives, but it's obviously you have got to be aware of it and how you work around that time. But hopefully some of the other things I've shared with you have already kind of solved those problems. So this is working with diverse people. I've worked with a lot of people in the world, and it really kind of opens you up, and you get some ideas and thoughts that you just wouldn't get working with people from your own country. I love this team to pieces. They're almost like family to me now. We've been working together for 9 months, and we really kind of complement each other in how we work and how we think. We've not just got different countries here, we've got male, female as well, which gives its own diversity to the team. It's really quite special. And this is kind of how important team building is, right? So take the team out of the office. Again, another way with especially with the Scrum Ban, where it's so kind of firing through. Don't be scared to take a day off from the office and do some team building. It will pay you back in so many ways. as you can see. I was nearly in the Indian flag colours at that point. But I think Juby had just destroyed me at that point with some purple, so there you go. So a little bit about Brilio, who are the company on this side of the world. Royal London are the other company that I kind of consult for and try and come over some of these barriers. I mean, we've just literally scratched the surface this morning. I could have talked all day on this subject. So Brilio, I really like working with them. They're always quite flexible with how we work, and they listen. And that's what I really like about them. It's not one-sided. They'll take and they'll give advice, but they'll also listen.
Bullet points are here.
What was that?
Bullet points are there.
It's not my slide. I didn't talk about this. Yeah.
So those are Indian bullets.
Yeah. Blamer Trash, he forced me to put the Brilio slide in, so I'm not taking responsibility for the bullet points in this slide. But well spotted. I should get you a prize or something. Dear me. We'll have to speak about that. Yeah. Okay, so just to summarise, so I'll just say with any presentation, there's kind of normally 2 or 3 points that you should really try and take away. Any more and you kind of lose them, right? I think that's all you can take in. I do the same with retrospectives. Only really focus on 2 or 3 points at a time. So if you take anything away today, it's to focus on the right things. So stop focusing on the process you're running and the tools you're doing. As Agile says, they are important, but what's more important is the individuals and the interactions and treating people like humans and getting to know them and to teach them about communication. Try some improv games. I've got a few examples on my blog if any of you have been to it yet. If not, have a look after of just some of the games that you can use to try and flatten the structure within an organisation and get the communication really going. Then we covered a bit about just what a good team looks like. Actually not the focus of this meeting, but just some things about what you should be looking for when you're recruiting. So, I don't think it matters if someone's got Scrum or Agile experience. What matters is, are they a communicator? Are they going to let other people talk? All those things around the individual that we looked at. Those are what I'd be gearing my interview questions around, not their experience of Scrum or Agile. Then a little analogy of the child in the sweet shop. Why limit yourself to such a small market when you've got the world to choose from? Maybe not an issue in Bangalore where you've got 9.5 million, but think of some of us that live in the small towns. Then we went through a few of the challenges, and the one that I really wanted to focus on was culture, and hopefully you've all got at least one thing to go through with the culture next week that you can kind of hopefully quite practically bring into your teams. The other point with the challenges was the communication escalation game. So I'm expecting some tweets next week as to how your teams have got on with that. And then we went through some of the benefits. And hopefully that's just, people always focus on the negatives of distributed teams, but there is some positives you can take out there. Again, that's my Twitter if any of you didn't pick it up at the start. My blog, scrummaster.ninja. I don't get as much time as I'd like to share new content. I'm always after people who want to contribute. So please speak to me if you do. And that's just my more corporate company side. If any of you are struggling with some of the things I've discussed today and you'd like to talk about taking that a bit further. Any questions?
Okay. So I'm working with a team where we are a distributed team.
Yeah.
And we went and visited them and we had a great relationship. But once we came back here, the contact became lesser and lesser, and we are losing the connection. So is there any other exercise or any game or some activity that can get us the relationship back to where the good?
Yes. So one of the games that worked quite well with my team was it's a game where you say, have you ever, And then I'll say, have you ever been to Hyderabad? And all the people who've been to Hyderabad have to stand up and move chairs. And you try and escalate, so you say, have you ever played the piano? And then everyone who's played the piano has to move around. And it's just a very simple way of getting to know your team a little bit longer. The other thing is take that 5 minutes extra on your stand-ups to build those relationships and ask people, how did you get on last night? What did you do? Where did you go? It's amazing that people who sit in the same office don't know what hobbies you do outside of work. I think that is so terrible in this 21st century that we live in. So I think that's really key, even more so with the distribute team. Does that help?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, cool. Anything else?
Cross-scale or multi-scale to know the other person's perspective to bridge the gap?
So I talked about the T-shaped people. Ideally, for a really high-performing team, you'd expect to have a skill that you're really good at, and also a couple of secondary skills. So, for example, if you're a developer, then you should be able to pick up some of the BA tasks and some of the testing tasks. And so I'd expect like the developer and tester to spend some time together. So someone talked about paired programming earlier, but you can also do paired developer and tester, and the tester can share some of the quality side. So look at your kind of test-driven development tests and say, well, why are you doing it like this? Look at this way of working. And the developer can start teaching the testers some more code so that they can pick up some of the basic code principles. Does that help?
Yeah, would that be a critical success factor for distributing the agile teams? What is a critical success factor?
A critical
Success factor for agile, to run agile projects and distributed.
That's not a critical factor, no. The critical factors are all around the communication skills and getting the right people. So skills is important and having multiple skills, but what I really want you to get away from today is focus on the core skills that us as humans have kind of started to lose because of the process and tools that are now in place. So talk more, understand your team more, be empathetic and understand your team, and when someone's struggling, be on their side to help them and to come over a problem together. Is that okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, John, I work a lot with teams in China. So there is always this problem of language. So they are not very prominent in English speaking. So do you have any suggestion how do we improve that condition? So is there any suggestion that you have gone through some situation?
So to a certain extent, it's understanding. So the same reason I'm learning Canada at the minute, very basic. But I'm also the team are learning English sayings all the time, which is why I had a bit of fun today with some of the English sayings. And so we're trying to understand each other's cultures at that basic level. So understand a bit of each other's languages and try and overcome it that way. And obviously, if it is such an issue, then that's something that can be taught as well. You can learn new languages. You can both spend more time and invest in learning a common language.
So one of the problems which we had something similar, right? So people are there in calls, in conferences. We all agree on something. People do not say. They do not understand because they do not understand your language 100%, right? So what we did, we changed this quick. We had got more video desk phones. You can see each other across the world, right? Through a desk phone. And there are telepresences. And we make sure we at least meet once a week for an hour. So the majority of the decisions for the week, we're going to decide over there. Majority of the benefit is that when somebody do not understand, you can mark it from the face. They not say you, but you can feel, okay, this guy didn't understand. So there, you would like to go deeper in that and make sense for him to understand it better. If you're in a call when we don't see each other, so we can say, okay, I understand, so let me go home, the kind of things. But when you are seeing each other, you understand when the people is not getting it. So you know what to do. You'll slow down your pace, or probably you'll see a pictorial way to show it. probably give an instance when it was done before. You give some kind of references, and they catch things better.
Yeah, it goes back to the escalation communication game. That was a really good point. Trying to up your VC. The other thing that you can do as well, which works quite well, is you can have a minute taker and then distribute that on your wiki after the meeting. And then if anyone didn't catch anything, then so you don't use it as kind of a telling off point, but it's just a way that people can digest it then in their own time, maybe get their English dictionary out and have a look, and then go back with any questions without having to kind of, it's bad enough kind of trying to listen to a conference call when it's not your mother tongue, let alone trying to write your own notes. So that's another way that can give them one less thing to have to do if they haven't got to write their own stuff down. Yeah, we're done. Right, I'm here all day, so if anyone's got any other things they want to discuss, then just come and find me.